Good day, I'm Dr. Henny Goede, New Testament scholar in the Faculty of Theology at the Northwest University. My research focus lies in biblical hermeneutics, with a specific focus on the different contexts brought to the text by the author, text, and reader. I am the co-editor of the book Christian Hermeneutics in South Africa, together with Professor Nico Forster. Professor Forster is a research professor in the Unit for Reformational Theology and the Development of the South African Society within the Faculty of Theology at the Northwest University. He conducts his research in systematic theology with a focus on anthropology, specifically in the work of the Protestant reformer John Calvin. It is our privilege to introduce this publication, Christian Hermeneutics in South Africa, to you. The South African biblical studies landscape is characterized by a plethora of traditions, analytic methods, and hermeneutical approaches designed to address the range of societal challenges that South Africans and Christians face. This book explores the rapidly changing environment of biblical hermeneutics in South Africa through a collection of essays by experts in the field. The theological premises, theoretical considerations, and different nuances within the various traditions are explained, and practical examples are provided of how these traditions employ texts in addressing ethical questions. Chapters 1 and 2 provide an overview of two traditional approaches, namely Reformed and Pentecostal hermeneutics. Chapters 3 to 6 deal with the hermeneutics of suspicion as a basis for liberation theology, as well as post-colonial and decolonial readings of the biblical text. Chapter 7 delves into ecofeminist hermeneutics, and Chapter 8 concludes with biblical hermeneutics from an African perspective. Many other approaches might have found a place among these mentioned, yet it is impossible to be exhaustive in a publication of this nature. We thus included hermeneutical traditions based on their influence, discursive power, and novelty within the South African context. The different approaches described in the book reveal some recurring tensions between traditions, but also overlaps and cross-fertilization. The main point of contention pertains to the clash between text-orientated and reader-orientated approaches. Text-orientated scholars are of the view that reader-orientated approaches impose meaning onto the text, forcing the text to mimic the social and political motives of the interpreter. Reader-orientated scholars feel that text-orientated approaches are based on outdated positivistic premises, and the naive idea that contingency exists between surface structures and depth structures in the biblical text. A third group of scholars seem to seek a middle ground. They advocate for an approach that contains both text-orientated and reader-orientated reading strategies. On the one hand, they suggest that the interpreter takes his or her own pre-understandings and suppositions seriously, but conversely, that he or she also allows the text to speak without imposing a specific pre-understanding or option on the text. The various viewpoints are obviously influenced by the audience interpreters want to reach and the communities to which they belong. Besides these tensions, we also find overlaps and signs of cross-fertilization between the various traditions. Liberation theology, contextual theology, and post-colonial hermeneutics have certainly shifted the attention of classical Christianity to discriminatory social structures, oppressive gender relations, and harms done to the environment. Classical theology, on the other hand, has forced contextual theologies to refine their hermeneutical methods and to apply ideological self-critique. In contrast with the natural sciences, where paradigms replace each other abruptly, hermeneutical traditions tend to exist for considerable periods of time alongside each other. They interact with each other, cross-fertilize and question each other. as time goes by, new horizons and radically altered traditions emerge. This trend is clearly visible in this publication. Whereas greater diversity in approach makes possible a more comprehensive Christian response to doctrinal, ethical, and social questions, it also causes confusion and tension within both scholarly and ecclesiastical circles. For instance, debates about gender and sexuality, land reform, socio-economic and political issues in churches have been characterized by a great deal of contestation about hermeneutical points of departure. This book endeavors to provide a framework for engagement between biblical scholars from different traditions, but also for any reader interested in how we understand and practically apply Scripture. Thank you.